Hello and welcome to another insightful episode of the Business Roundup. We are glad that you made a date with us, and we promise to keep you informed and updated on the trending business news stories. I'm your host Jerome Paul Sonko, and without further ado, check out the highlights. Africa wants more concessional funding from the World Bank's IDA. International Museum Day 2024 celebrations to highlight the transformative power of museums. Huawei Technologies Uganda launches a 5-year cloud startup program targeting SMEs. Last but not least, check out the Chikangate cross-border power project in our Sounds of Business. Don't touch your dial, it's time for business. First off, African heads of state and government have called for increased concessional funding from the World Bank's International Development Association, IDA. The appeal was made at the International Development Association IDA 21 for Africa Heads of State Summit in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi. William Ruto, the host president, called for tripling of IDA's financing capacity to $279 billion by 2030. Check this out.
Long-term concessional financing is vital as many African countries and other developing nations face severe debt crisis, says President William Ruto of Kenya. President William Ruto revealed that financial strain hampers the continent's efforts to combat climate change, transition to low-carbon economy, and adequately fund essential sectors like the education and health.
It is imperative to understand with substantial investment in our vast energy resources, Africa can not only provide power to all its citizens, including the 600 million currently without access, but also significantly advance global decarbonization efforts. Let me say this broadly. If there was a case to be made for a win-win outcome, IDA is the best example. Because everybody wins. The donors win, the recipients win. The donors win because it is an investment for them. For the recipients, it is an opportunity.
His sentiments were echoed by President Yoweri Museveni, who emphasized the importance of infrastructure development in Africa's social and economic growth agenda.
Africa does not need sustainable, you could call it sustainable underdevelopment. Africa needs socio-economic transformation. The pregnancy must become a baby. The baby must grow and become a teenager. The teenager must grow. That's what happens in life. You cannot have quantitative growth and you think you are doing anything. The main reason why there is no growth is because the growth factors are not funded. They are not even understood. What are the growth factors? We now talk of private sector-led growth. Yes. But for the private sector to grow, what does it need? It needs low costs of production. Ministers of Finance. Low costs of production. And what are the low costs of production? Number one, transport. You must have low transport costs. Where do low transport costs come from? From the railway.
The heads of state and government acknowledged the impact of the demand-driven programs by the World Bank's International Development Association, coupled with concessional loans lasting 40 to 50 years.
This summit symbolizes our objective commitment to accelerating progress. But we have to move with urgency, we have to move with purpose, and we have to have a focus on results and on impact. This will require more from IDA. It will require more from all parts of the World Bank Group. It will require more from governments, and it will require more from the private sector. We stand at the cusp of a new era of growth and prosperity for Africa, or we have come together merely to admire its potential. The choice or where to go with that is ours. IDA remains dedicated to supporting your efforts to investing in the people of Africa. We are working to make IDA more efficient. We are working to make it able to deliver faster by cutting burdensome rules, requirements, and redundancies. We believe a simpler and reimagined IDA can be deployed with more focus to make meaningful impact to advance the fundamental needs, energy access, healthcare availability, realize the agricultural potential of this continent, and build out critical infrastructure and skills in its people.
The leaders from the continent proposed and requested significant capital injection into IDA to foster African-driven social and economic development.
We believe that it should be a collective effort to highlight both the impactful success stories of IDA and the potential that IDA still has. Indeed, IDA has great potential to help its recipients to leverage resources from other partners. For instance, in Tanzania, we have an infrastructure project in Dar es Salaam called the Msimbazi Basin Development Project, which benefited from World Bank support worth $2 million. Having secured these resources, Tanzania has already been able to leverage an additional $60 million from other partners for this project, which aims at strengthening flooding or flood resilience and integrated urban development in our economic hub.
But I came here to tell you that Malawi is a miracle, because despite the anguish Malawians have gone through and the pains they feel, Malawi has not only survived, but is in fact showing signs of recovery. And one of the secrets to our survival and recovery has been the World Bank's IDA, which I would describe as Malawi's trusted and reliable ambulance in addressing the structural imbalances on the physical, current account, and monetary side occasioned by the shocks we have encountered.
African governments were urged to take deliberate and robust actions to improve fiscal discipline, increase domestic revenue mobilization, develop investor-friendly policies, and enhance anti-corruption measures. Dennis Igor for the Business Roundup.
Away from that, Uganda will on the 18th of this month celebrate the International Museum Day 2024. The celebrations, to run under the theme Museums Shaping Knowledge for the Future, seeks to highlight the transformative power of museums in steering societal advancement. We have the details.
Museums play a dynamic role in educational institutions through fostering learning, discovery, and cultural enlightenment.
This year's national theme is Museums Shaping Knowledge for the Future, derived from the International Council of Museums, and the international theme is Museums for Education and Research. This year's theme aims to underscore the significance of museums as dynamic educational institutions fostering learning, discovery, and cultural understanding.
The International Museum Day 2024 celebrations will highlight the transformative power of museums in steering societal advancement. Soroti City in the Eastern region will serve as the focal point for the festivities.
We want to really popularize heritage, culture heritage, through moving around the country using this platform of International Museums Day to make all Ugandans get aware and ensure that they conserve their heritage.
Uganda's diverse cultural and heritage sites spread all over the country are a niche product that the tourism industry is tapping into. Lily Ajarova, the Chief Executive Officer, Uganda Tourism Board, emphasizes.
Our cultural heritage is one of those products that we haven't done enough to market, but this is the time now. I'm glad, Segoa, you mentioned that we went with you to Nero Rock and some of the other heritage sites. And this is part of the marketing. I mean, to talk to the brand, the destination brand, Explore Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. This is one of the ways we are showcasing what we have by exploring these places ourselves, having these experiences ourselves.
As the country thrives to develop, market, and preserve these unique tourism attractions, there is an appeal for collaboration with the local community.
We must have the communities as part of the management of this heritage. Regarding the artifacts, of course, we get artifacts from them. They are the ones who actually have been bringing them to the museums for better management. And so those are the donations. If you go back to the Museums and Monuments Act 2023, you'll find that we have donations, we have gifts, we have bequests, and so we have purchase. So some of the communities, as a way of having these artifacts preserved, they have donated them to the museum. And of course, they keep coming to work with us.
Some of the renowned heritage sites in the country are the Kasubi Tombs, Namugongo Martyrs Shrine, Nyero Rock Paintings, Chibiro Salt Gardens, and Mango King's Palace, among others. Maureen Babidye, Dennis Sigoa, for UBC News.
Moving on the sidelines of the media engagement, our reporter Maureen Babidye had a one-on-one interview with the Commissioner Museums and Monuments on the current state of culture and heritage tourism products.
Thank you for joining us on this one-on-one, Commissioner. I'll get straight to it. Do you think the cultural heritage subsectors get enough support from government and other stakeholders?
For now, I would say that yes, we have received support. We have seen a lot of political will. I have seen most, at least for like our committee in Parliament, they have added us funding. In the last financial year, we got additional funding, and to me that is support. We wouldn't be constructing in Moroto, we wouldn't be planning to rehabilitate the National Museum if there was no support. And I'm pretty sure that the National Development Plan 4 is going to come out highlighting something on cultural heritage.
That's interesting. Do you think we have any challenges that are facing the tourism industry currently?
I will talk tourism industry on cultural heritage sites. Yes. One, of course, when we talk about community, still we have challenges. Most communities, I would say they are poor, and they end up sometimes encroaching, sometimes destroying, and to me that is the primary challenge. And so when you go to a site or to a museum and maybe it has, there are things that are lacking, then the tourism, the tourists will not get that feeling that the tourists would have got when the site is well presented. If there are people quarrying in Kapil, I don't know if you heard in 2021, one of our sites was burnt by fire by somebody early morning. And so when those challenges, that one reduces on the product range. If you're trying to develop products, you're trying to develop trails, and some people think that they need these stones for building houses, and yet this is their heritage, then there is that competing in priority by our local communities and government. And so this affects our tourism industry because of course it is not, we conserve with the environment. We need our things to be in not that pristine environment, but at least to have an environment that is appreciated, whereby, because us in heritage, environment and heritage are intertwined. And so we do not conserve in air. We have to have the environment intact. Then maybe the other challenge, of course, has been on proper marketing, I would say. And this is why we are coming up with some of these strategies of using different platforms to inform the public about these products. And we think that, we have the Museums and Monuments Strategic Plan 2023 to 2030, which was developed under World Bank support. And so we think that with such, now that we have the manual with us, and then we are getting support from World Bank, we are getting support from the government of Uganda, we think that there is going to be change. And so I believe in the next 1 to 2 years, we shall be having different stories.
As we get to the end of our interview, and of course ahead of International Museum Day, what would be your parting shots and expectations?
Yes, one, I would want to call all Ugandans to come and we meet in Soroti. We understand